Hello everybody, what the flick? William Bibbiani here, Meredith Placko. We have got to talk about the big happy news announcement this weekend. We have a new The Doctor on Doctor Who.
Oh, I thought we were gonna talk about the Wimbledon tournament.
There's a Wimbledon tournament?
I mean, it's fine, don't worry about it.
I don't know. The point is, there is a new The Doctor on Doctor Who. This is news under any circumstances, but it is particularly noteworthy in that we finally have a female Doctor in Jodie Whittaker. You know her from Broadchurch and Attack the Block and a lot of other things as well.
And an episode of Black Mirror.
And yay!
Yay! The really important news is finally they made a Doctor that I look like and I can cosplay her.
There you go.
It's great, I'm so excited.
You know, I love the rumor mill and all of these things because if you listened to the rumors about who was gonna play the Doctor, the new Doctor after Peter Capaldi left, the rumor was literally everyone but Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah, only in the last week had someone from Broadchurch. There was a rumor that a woman from Broadchurch who had worked with David Tennant was in the running. And Whittaker's name was floated in a couple of British tabloid sites, but yeah, it was like, oh, it's gonna be Idris Elba, it's gonna be I don't know.
Yeah,
literally everyone.
Another white dude.
Yeah.
And we got Jodie Whittaker, who is. What I love, there's a lot of things I love about this. I'm not super familiar with her work. I haven't seen everything she's done. I've always liked her in everything she's done. But one thing I like is that when Capaldi became the Doctor, he was a very Peter Capaldi Doctor. Peter Capaldi had a way about him. We knew he would be the grumpy Doctor, and they played that. Matt Smith and David Tennant were both kind of in their way these very light, kind of bouncy Doctors. They had dark sides to them as well. They had deeper emotions, but they were fun. I don't know what Jodie Whittaker's Doctor is going to be. It could be anything, and there's no expectation to come with this.
Because the range that she's played. So I'm most familiar with her work from Broadchurch, and Broadchurch is one of my favorite crime series ever. It also stars David Tennant, so she's had some of the best Doctor training I personally think she could get. But she plays the mother. Spoiler alert, by the way, for those of you who've not seen the first season of Broadchurch. Her son is murdered, and it's actually quite dark, the storyline. And well, yes, we've dealt with child sex abuse and death in other crime shows before. The way that Broadchurch unfolds, it's very heavy. It's very I'd binge TV. I could not binge Broadchurch because it was just the subject matter and the way it was presented was just heavy is the one word I keep coming back to. And
she's super intense.
Yeah, and she plays the mother of this kid, and the whole storyline is them trying to find who murdered him, and eventually we find out it's the husband, the dad. And watching her performance through that is amazing. It's actually just a great character study. But then I'm not familiar with Attack the Block, but I believe that's a more comedy, right?
Well, it's an action horror movie, and it's from Joe Cornish, and it is a sci-fi series. A sci-fi movie about aliens who come into an apartment building and it's not about the cops. It's not about a standard Amblin-esque family. It's about the hoodies, who are actually the people who at the beginning of the movie, the protagonists of the film, mug Jodie Whittaker and they take her wallet. And then they're all forced to band together to fight off an alien invasion, which is kind of also their own fault. And it's kind of an interestingly complicated movie from that perspective in terms of the interpersonal relationships. This is also where John Boyega got his start.
Nice. I really need to see this.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. It's a very unusual movie in terms of its character dynamics. And she plays a character who is a nurse who is fighting off aliens and trying to struggle to figure out how this new dynamic works into which she has suddenly found herself. It plays not unlike an episode of Doctor Who. She's not the most active participant in it, but you can kind of squint and see how in the future this might seem like a predecessor.
Nice.
I love not knowing. I love having no preconception over what she's going to do with it, over how it's going to be. There's a whole new showrunner now. It's super exciting.
Yeah, and the little minute teaser video that we got, because I remember when Capaldi was announced. It's Peter Capaldi. The words are married together. When Capaldi was announced, they did this whole event. It was like a 30-minute event where they kind of go through some of the back doctors, and then they announced Peter.
It's like live television event, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was pretty. I mean, I remember I was sitting in the newsroom at NBC at the time when I worked there, and I turned it on, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm watching the new Doctor announcement. Leave me alone." But this was a lot more subtle. They aired this little promo after the Wimbledon wrapped, and it's just a figure walking, hooded figure in a trench coat, basically.
Well, she's wearing Capaldi's old costume.
Yeah, she is wearing his old costume. And the first indication when for me I realized it was going to be a woman was just the head shape. There was just something in the shoulders and the head, and then they give the hand, and I'm like, all right, that's. But then once you see the eye, you see that corner of the face, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, and then the whole reveal, and I mean, obviously I lost it, and then I realized who it was because I was just actually over the moon that they finally did the whole woman thing.
Yeah.
But just her mannerisms, the way she walked, the way it was like it could be considered very neutral, but I think there's gonna be. I took it away, like I think there's gonna be like a comedic weight to her. I think she's gonna play it more Eccleston and Tennant than Smith or even Capaldi. I think she's gonna do her own thing, obviously.
I hope she does her own thing, whatever it is.
I think it's gonna be, but I definitely don't see her being stern.
What I'm really looking forward to, and it's actually one of my favorite things is, okay, we've cast the new Doctor and I'm super excited about that. I want to know what her costume is going to be because every Doctor has an iconic look, and I feel like my favorite Doctors had like often very, very distinctive looks.
Oh yeah, like
and like even Capaldi doesn't really have that distinctive a look. I hope they're comfortable now going weird.
Yeah, the only thing that was distinctive about Capaldi was the red lining in his first jacket. I love David Tennant because he had the sneakers.
Like, the trainers and he was very casual, business casual. Smith, he tried to make the old man look cool. We're not enjoying that?
I don't like, I mean, I make it very clear that Smith and I stopped watching Doctor Who, well, I had to because of the show, but I would have stopped watching it because of Smith.
Fair enough. But Eccleston had his like, his leather jacket.
And then of course, we've got.
But then there were Doctors who had celery stalks in their lapels. Like, let's go weird again.
So or the scarf, Tom Baker.
Let's have some fun. Like that's my fantasy.
Yeah.
One thing they brought up for Capaldi's Doctor when he chose the face of a person he'd met was that he has some control over who he turns into, at least subconsciously.
Yeah.
And he had chosen a person he had met in order to teach the new version of him a lesson about how every life has value. And it brings up a very good point, and I think it might be super relevant now. So many of the best people that the Doctor has ever met are women.
That's true.
Like everyone from, even just looking recently, you got Rose, you got Martha, you got Donna, you got Clara, you got Amy, you've got Bill. Fine.
I know, I'm pissing off so many people, I'm sorry.
But like seriously, like he's had all of this incredible influence from all of the women in his life
even you think about Sarah Jane, Maisie Williams' character, which I still am kind of sad we didn't get to see.
They could still bring them back at some point. Like they're floating around in the ether. But yeah, there's so much influence he's had, and it only makes sense when you think about it. We've established time and time again that the Time Lords can turn into men and women.
Anything, yeah. I mean, Missy. I mean, if we needed any sort of like proof for this, it was Missy and Master.
It's almost like Missy was a primer, just saying, "Get ready, the Doctor is going to be a woman."
And there's even been hints before. So, and I'm quoting from an article on the New Radio Times, and it says in an earlier series 9 episode, The Witch is Familiar, Missy teases Clara by telling her that she has cared about the Doctor since always, since the Cloister Wars, since the night he stole the moon and the president's wife, since he was a little girl. And then she goes on to say, of course, one of those things is a lie. Can you guess which one? So we've got that hint dropped. And then we also have another quote from the same article where the Doctor says this to Bill. She was my man crush. I think she was a man back then, and I'm fairly certain I was too.
Yeah.
So we have hints that the Doctor.
There might even be, well, I feel like we've cataloged all of the Doctor's regenerations, but there's all sorts of things.
Well, we've cataloged them, but then it was all thrown into a tizzy with Capaldi because we kind of got the new regeneration.
For all we know, that's him, like a future version or something. The Doctor has talked about how there was a Time Lord called the Corsair, who was male and female and at turns.
Yeah.
Again, there's, and if you think about it, if we're going, let's. For the sake of argument, let's just say gender is binary, which it's not, but you know what I mean, just biologically, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's just boil it down as simply as it can to flipping a coin. It's come up tails 13 times now. Come on, like it's only a matter of
exactly.
time.
And here's the thing: if we're going pre-Moffat era Doctor, we hadn't seen all the regenerations of the Doctor, so there's nothing to say that in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s they might have at some point planned. You know, I can't find the quote, and it's driving me nuts. But I have a memory, and a couple of the people I talked to were like, yeah, I remember at some point Tom Baker's Doctor in '81 in an episode, and please someone help me out here, help me find this. He hints at having a female doctor. So this notion that the Doctor has to be a white man throughout all of time, I think they've just cast it that way, but not on purpose.
That was the expectation of genre cinema and television, and you just didn't do that. And now we're at the point where it seems overdue.
Yeah.
And again, it's a situation where the Doctor is a shape-changing alien. The Doctor can be a woman, the Doctor could be anything.
Yeah, he chooses to be a human because he loves humans.
That's a question though. Has the Time Lord ever not looked human?
No,
they're always look pretty human, right?
Yeah, but I think we at some point the Doctor has mentioned about being a human because he likes humans. But I feel like if you can shape change your face, you can shape change anything if you want. Like, what if there are Time Lords who happen to be really big fans of, I don't know, the weird snake creature from the Mara episode? We're going way back. That snake thing is so dank looking. But but yes, we're assuming it's a humanoid shaped creature. But the idea that the fuss. It's not a whole lot. It's a little bit. It's like a few very loud voices that the Doctor cannot be a woman. I'm like, yo, this is sci-fi. As you say, he's a shape-changing alien. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. You're upset about him being a woman, but just let it go because it's a TV show.
Well, it's not even just a TV show.
No, it's a lifestyle to some people.
No, well, it is actually, and I'll talk about that in a second. But it's fantasy. It's science fiction, and it's not even like so-called hard science fiction where it's based on a lot of facts.
Asimov here.
Yeah, this is fantasy.
Yeah.
Why limit yourself? What's the point? Why not expand your mind? Why not expand your horizons and the possibilities? There's literally no reason other than it's always been done. And it's always been done is the death of fantasy. We come up with fantasy because what's always been done is boring and reductive.
This is a show that has the most dangerous creatures in the entire universe. They have whisks for weapons. It's literally a whisk that you stir cake batter with. Also,
and a plunger.
And a plunger. And you have Cybermen. You would think they'd be cyborgs. No, the first generation, they had spandex bodies. Also, we saw that recently too. They're just spandex coverings. That's not very cybernetic.
No, it's not.
So, it's, to me, I think the outrage, and I think some of the outrage, we can get a little too much about outrage culture. It's very in vogue in the internet.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you can't let go of the fact that they cast a woman as a doctor, I want your first world problems. Because
that'd
really,
be a great problem to have.
That's a good problem.
That's a fantastic problem to have. Look, everyone needs someone to look up to, and the Doctor is. The Doctor is right up there with Superman as one of like the great aspirational characters. Yeah, in terms of they have principles and they fight for those principles and they inspire people and they make the world a better place.
And Superman very rarely shows like human weakness. I can relate more to the Doctor than I ever could to Superman.
That's fair. I'll totally side with you on that. But we should have aspirational figures that appeal to everybody and that sort of represent different circumstances. We should only just be getting started on this. Well, strike that. We should have been starting a long ass time ago, but if we're starting now, then this had better be a long path. I look forward to looking up to people who aren't me. Like Wonder Woman was such a wonderful film because Patty Jenkins made a wonderful film,
really
but there weren't enough films like that when we were growing up. You can look up to heroic women who are held to the same heroic standard as all of the male action adventure heroes that we had. And I look forward to the generation that gets to grow up with these sort of icons and then become better people because of it.
Let me share, as a woman who grew up primarily in the sci-fi fantasy video game world and never really having female figures to look up to, except, I had my mom. Like I'll pull it out there. My mom is an amazing woman who has pioneered a lot in terms of internet security and the whole like what she's done. I love my mom. She's up until she retired, she was still the only woman on her team for 25 years at her office. She's fantastic. So I always have my mom to look up to. But you know what? Because characters are male, didn't ever meant that I couldn't look up to them. I found ways to identify with them regardless. But until recently, until maybe the last 5 to 6 years, where you start to see these prominent female characters, I realize how important that is. And again, you bring up Wonder Woman, I bring up Wonder Woman too, the film. I never identified with Wonder Woman at all, the comic character, no interest really there. But watching that film, I was like, wow, if 6-year-old Meredith had seen this, would things have been different for me? Yeah. And that's not to say that you need a male or woman or white, black, Latino to find aspirational importance in them. But at the end of the day, I hate, not to get super liberal, like neoliberal on here. We've had our fair share of white men heroes.
We've had a lot.
We have. We've had like
there's no
60
shortage.
Years of it.
More than that. I mean, all of history.
All of history. I'm thinking of like mainstream media.
Sure.
And I think it is important in America, which is a melting pot, as much as people might want to only see certain sections of it or want it to be a certain way. I think you can learn a lot, and I think you can learn a lot from seeing someone who's not you.
Yes.
And understand that, because I feel like I'm fairly liberal, and I'm fairly like, my brand of feminism is definitely equal. But I also recognize the importance of, I need figures that aren't exactly me to look up to.
Yeah.
Because I'll learn. Because being a white woman, I know the struggles of being a woman, but I don't know what it's like to be a non-white woman.
Sure.
So I listen to my non-white women friends about what they have to deal with specifically. I also listen to my male friends about what they have to deal with, because I do understand that in this current generation, especially on the internet, especially on places like Twitter and Tumblr, there seems to be this notion that people want to take away something. And yes, there are people who say, you've had enough of that, I want to take it away from you. For me, it's not about taking anything away, it's about opening the playing field, leveling it to we all have an equal say. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I feel like, if you're the type of person that feels that they cast a female doctor just to make a certain section of the population happy, first off, that's not how film and television works. They never cast things for the minority, because still the people who wanted a female doctor to make it like it's about time, they're still the minority. They did it because there's a new showrunner, there's a new direction on the show. It seems like a good time to introduce something that's completely their own.
And it's something they can do now that people will actually get behind and support. Exactly. Because if even further back, this would have been anathema.
Yeah.
And I agree with everything you just said, basically. I think, it's about adding more. We need more heroes, just in general. And heroes who don't all fit the same mold remind us that every single human being is great and has the potential for greatness.
Exactly.
And when you think about people who are mean to other people who are mean to other people because of how they look or their gender or their religion or where they're from, and if we were all exposed to more positive representations of people in general, it would probably be harder for us to be mean to other people. And wouldn't it be nice if it was harder to be mean to other people in general? Wouldn't that be? Isn't that the dream?
I credit so much because I grew up in Miami, and Miami is a very culturally diverse, but unlike LA. So LA is home to so many different ethnicities and cultures, but everything is still very segregated out here. You've got your Chinatown, you've got Little Armenia, you've got just everything is segregated. In Miami, we all live together. And then you also see the interesting dynamics of how Puerto Ricans and Cubans don't get along, or Haitians and Cubans, but we all have to live together there, and we found a way to get along. And I really do wish more parts of America could be that desegregated, not just desegregated, but like just intermixed, because I grew up seeing people from every different culture living together, working together, inviting each other over for dinner, and I never once understood racism until I moved away when I was an adult, until I moved to Mobile, Alabama, and I was 25 years old, and I had never really encountered racism, and I think that was a beautiful thing. Obviously, I understood it. I understood like the notion of racism, but I'd never seen it. None of my friends had really experienced it.
Yeah.
And I think And I think, like you said, just having more exposure to these things, it's not a bad thing, but it's not taking anything away.
No, we still have all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And again, it's Doctor Who. It's aspirational fantasy.
It is.
It's about like, oh, wouldn't it be great if everyone was awesome and the world was awesome and we had people who were awesome for us.
And I think we need more sci-fi and fantasy that is aspirational. I think we've gotten to a point that is definitely reflective of our times, that a lot of our sci-fi is dark.
Yeah, very cynical.
It's very cynical. It's very post-apocalyptic.
Well, yeah, and that's true for, and honestly that goes back. Honestly, most sci-fi is very afraid of technology and change. It's always, we're going to invent this new technology and it's going to make things scarier. And I think it's one of the things that people like about Star Wars, is that it is sci-fi, but it has hopefulness and it has heroism.
Star Trek,
and Star Trek, very much so. Star Trek actually takes place in the future.
Exactly.
And it says that technology will bring us together and it will neutralize racism and everything. You know, we will get better as a species, and that's why people flock to it. Yeah, it's good writing and good characters, but really it's something we can band together with and
we
say,
can all
this
identify
is our
with.
And Doctor Who is that for me. And so I am very excited about it. I am very excited about the possibilities. I'm excited that I don't know what's gonna happen next. I don't know what the showrunner's gonna be like. I don't know what Jodie Whittaker's gonna do with the character. And I wish them luck because this is, we live in exciting times.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is I don't care if this doctor was male or female. I'm just excited it's a new doctor and it's not Moffat running the show anymore.
We're due for a new voice.
We are, so.
Yeah.
Hooray, well, we've got one more Moffat run episode with the Christmas episode.
With 2 doctors together and a 3rd being introduced, and that should be fun.
It should be.
Hopefully.
I think Moffat will bring his best, so.
If it's a swan song, you'd better.
Yeah.
It's gotta be better than Dr. Mysterio. So everybody, thank you for joining us. We hope you're as excited as we are, and we all hope, regardless of all of our opinions, everything, of course we all want it to be great. So let's hope it's great.